Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Hanifah Syahirah Vedy with NCAM 2111-011-005. And for this occasion, I would like to share my presentation to you regarding Deliveroo Global Food Delivery Application, Interactive Session 1, Technology, Chapter 10, E-Commerce. Because for the last week, I cannot come to the presentation. So we start with the company background. So Deliveroo is a British online food delivery company that founded in 2013, basically on England, and it works with over 1,600,000 restaurants, and it also enables restaurants to expand their business without building such an expensive store. So for the case background itself, Deliveroo is partnering with Amazon SageMaker that provide tools to build, train, and deploy machine learning models for predictive analytics application. And what do kind of gain that they get by partnering with Amazon SageMaker is the first that it enables them to have a fast track order using a real-time algorithm. And the second is to analyze order based on location. And the third is to calculate the most efficient way of dispatching order and selecting riders. And the fourth, it can enable them to recommend restaurant and product based on order. So there are about four main gain that they get by partnering with Amazon SageMaker. But the real case is that when they are using the Deliveroo application, they are facing with some kind of problem. Is that the Deliveroo, the application, they pay the drivers below the market rates, especially for the Australia, because the market rates in Australia, it's about $35 per hour, but in reality, they only pay $25 per hour. And it seems that it is violating the law for the labor in Australia, and they also face some lawsuit that I will explain to the next slide. So this is the literature review that I have in this presentation. The first is about market creator, that we know that the Deliveroo is building a digital environment in which they can combine the process between buyer and seller, that they can meet, display product, and they also establish the price to their customer. And the second is that interactivity. It means that the technology that works through the interaction with the user. And the third is B2C, because it is a business to consumer. And what we can gain, like the main idea for this literature review, that in uncertain circumstances, it is really important for us to understand e-commerce, digital markets, and digital goods. So we're going to the question mark. Based on your reading of the chapter, what kind of business model is Deliveroo using? Is it different or the same as Uber? So the answer for this question, that it is the same, because both Deliveroo and Uber is a market creator, which they build a digital environment that they can meet the buyer and the seller itself. And also, but in here, Deliveroo is a platform that links hungry people that looking for a meal with restaurant. And you can see also, like their slogan is make a food delivery app like. So it is, like I have said before, it is the same as Uber, because both of the company is categorized as marketplace. The main difference between Uber and Deliveroo is that Uber transports the customer from one location to another location, but Deliveroo, on the other hand, they bring food to customer doorstep. And the other difference between Uber and Deliveroo is that Uber doesn't advertise any third-party service on its vehicle, while Deliveroo itself, they promote the product and service. Providers have to offer the third party. The third party in Uber is like the restaurant that provides the service. So what technology are used by Deliveroo to support its business model? There are about technology, but the first thing that the main technology being used by Deliveroo is the cloud computing itself, because it can be easily to use and it can spread easily to the people. So there are many of the usement of the application because there's such an increasement of the cloud computing. But for the specific technology that being used, the first they have database. The database, it is recording the incoming order from the customer itself. And the second is real-time track and dispatching system to the smartphone. So it can tracking in real time about the situation, about where the driver is or something. The third is real-time dispatching and resource management algorithm based on machine learning. And the fourth is machine learning. It is used to analyze the location of restaurant, customer, and riders to optimize what is the shortest delivery routes that the driver can use. And the sixth is Android app development and advertising. And the seventh is web development and advertising. So what's the difference between an employee and a contractor? So there are about 5 types of difference that I will explain in this occasion between the employee and contractor. The first, in terms of working hour. For employee, they have a regular working hour and their working hour is defined by the company. But it goes different with contractor because sometimes contractor can decide what time that they want to work or something. And the second, the types of control over work. Sometimes for the employee, they have a standard operation procedure that they need to follow based from the company. But sometimes for the contractor, they have such a slightly different because contractor have a degree to control their self about what kind of work and how they can maintain that kind of work. And the third is about commercial and financial risk. Employee in here, they face no commercial or financial risk because it is the responsibility from the company itself, so they don't have to occur about it. And for the contractor is the one that can have a lot of financial risk because the contractor assume that the risk of making and losing money because they will responsible for any good or any badness. So it depends on what they work for. And the fourth, for the expectation of work, employees have been expected to have such a regular and systematic work. But for the contractor, they only assign for specific tasks. So it's not like a regular as the employee itself. And for the method of payment, sometimes employee they have more routine payment based on the negotiation with the company. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, or it can be fortnightly, or it can be yearly. But for a contractor, the business sometimes will pay the contractor once they have completed the work. The fourth question is asking about what risk factor might limit delivery growth in the future. So there are about 4 risk factors that can limit delivery growth in the future. The first is legal risk that I have explained to you before, that Deliveroo face some lawsuit because they are treating the labor law as a freelance, not like a certain employee, and they pay those freelance between the minimum rates of payment. So they face a lot of violation of law. And you can see this presentation also. It shows that lawsuits have been filed by Australian lawyers that claim that Deliveroo is violating a fair work agreement and that its contract are just shames to underpay the delivery agents. And the second, in terms of financial, they have such a financial risk because delivery itself, they have a debt, and the debt that they have is balanced from 30 million pounds to 129 million pounds, which means that the business is burning such a cash. And the third is labor shortage. Because we know that before that I have explained to you that Deliveroo is facing problem regarding onboarding of delivery agent. Because of that, sometimes there's people that work for Deliveroo, they lost their interest to work for Deliveroo itself because the first they pay below the market rates, and the second they are violating the fair work agreement, which is a shame. And the fourth risk that might limit Deliveroo growth is that intense competition. So in the UK itself, there are a lot of application for making such a Deliveroo food agent. The first we have DoorDash. The second, I'm sorry, actually Uber Eats is their biggest competitor for the food delivery, and they have Postmates, and the newest trend is Grubhub. So this is the delivery situation in 2022. So we can see that because of the violation of workfare, Deliveroo found guilty of using rider right in France, and the company in France, most likely in France, they are fined the maximum penalty of 375,000 euro, and they have to publish the court decision on Deliveroo French homepage for 1 month to say that they are guilty for the problem. And in terms of financial value, so for the financial value, they have increased their value for 73%. So the number they reach is 301 million euro. And for the gross transactional value, they have increased 70%, and the number that they reach is 6.6 billion euros. And for the gross profit that they reach, they increased about 7.5% as of the GTV, as of the gross transaction value. And the gross profit that they gain is about 497 million euro. That's all for my presentation. I think I will play the video. Can you hear the sound from the video?
Thousands of jobs through the gig economy. Now it's IPO'd, it's easier to place a valuation on the business as it comes under scrutiny from investors around the world. But what is the story of Deliveroo, and how did they become one of the fastest companies to reach IPO, operating in over 10 countries with 140,000 restaurants? Here's how it happened. Deliveroo was founded by Will Shu in 2013, but the idea for the food delivery company stemmed from his career in finance. Shu previously worked for Morgan Stanley and was working 100 hours a week, so ate pretty much every evening meal at his desk. When he relocated to the London office from New York in 2004, he felt the dinner options were poor and he got sick of shopping at the local Tesco. The idea of fast food delivery was perfect, as bankers often don't have time to leave their desks for dinner. But it would take another 9 years to launch the business, as Shu waited for the technology to catch up with his idea. The competitors at the time were Just Eat and Hungry House, but those both didn't really have any recognizable restaurants, and you couldn't track the delivery, so you didn't know when your food would arrive. Together with Greg Orlovsky, a friend and software developer, Shu launched Deliveroo with mobile technology, helping drivers to navigate their delivery routes and accept orders. Orlovsky worked on the software while Shu worked with restaurant chains to partner with. And during the first 10 months, Shu delivered food himself pretty much every day. Some of his old colleagues even pranked him by ordering food through Deliveroo just to see him turn up as a delivery boy, even delivering a pizza to his old boss who thought he'd fallen to an all-time low. Shu's idea for the business was premium food delivery, and now they offer 30 minutes between your order and the knock on the door. They work with an army of 110,000 bike and moped riders and a whole community of restaurants. Their algorithm, called Frank, uses predictive technology to get the most efficient way of distributing orders based on location, and they use this to streamline delivery routes, making the process more efficient, meaning riders, restaurants and Deliveroo make more money, and the customer receives their meal faster and, crucially, warmer.
So that's all for the video, and back to the presentation. So that's all for my presentation. Is there any question? Okay, so I think there's no any question. So I will close this presentation. Thank you so much for listening.